Because yes, folks, in case you didn't know, this channel and these two hosts, when Chela is here, are supporters of Bernie Sanders, and it's go time. Big things happened at the end of the year in 2019 as far as donations and number of volunteers and donors. And this Des Moines Register poll is not fake news, as much as they would like to think it is. It is probably not an outlier. It's the most trusted one and the one that's called the nomination for the last 6 times. So what are we smoking on this day in 2020, a new year? And believe me, part of what's going to go on with Bernie Sanders winning Iowa, because I think he will win Iowa. I don't think Iowa can slow down. I don't think they can slow down. They need to keep going and do what they're doing in Iowa, because whatever they're doing is working. And whatever they're doing in all the states is working. So they need to keep going. But I do think he is going to win Iowa, and he's going to move on to win New Hampshire. I think there's a good possibility he wins Nevada and comes in very close to the top in South Carolina, unless Iowa and New Hampshire gives him a huge bump, in which case he could win South Carolina. That's just, I'm probably overthinking this or underthinking this. Maybe I'm underthinking this, but I think that's maybe the trajectory. And then on Super Tuesday, I think California is going to hand the largest grouping of delegates to Bernie Sanders. And if you look at the other states that are in on Super Tuesday, there's a lot of delegate pickups that could happen for Bernie Sanders, especially if he wins the early states. Before we get into a little more about our support for Bernie Sanders, which goes way back. And ultimately for the show, Reefer Revolution Live, a lot of people are like, is Reefer Revolution coming back? We live streamed from the first anti-war rally here in protest here in downtown LA that happened right after the assassination. And another reason why the two issues that we really have here, there are other important issues, but the top two issues that we are very anti-war. So we are very pro-peace and cannabis, the end of the drug war, ending of the wars. We like to end the wars. That's our focus. And looking for peace, pot for peace. End the drug war, end the endless wars in the Middle East. And I think Bernie Sanders really has the best shot of doing that because, and I'll play a little bit of video from the anti-war rally where I mentioned this, but ultimately I don't think anyone that's currently running for the Democratic nomination other than Bernie Sanders or Tulsi Gabbard, definitely put Tulsi Gabbard in this category, would do anything to extricate us from the Middle East. And if something does blow up in Iran, which is not out of the realm of possibility, considering this little early wag the dog, and if you don't think this is wag the dog, or not wag the dog, you haven't seen the movie. So we have this initial wag the dog, which is now opening up a whole box of, and he was on a peace mission, which is the irony, of course. And ISIS has come out in support of his assassination, which goes, oh, well, of course, because ISIS is funded by the CIA, the Saudis, and Israel. So that makes total sense that they would support the assassination of their number one enemy in the region. So all kinds of crazy nonsense going on, but who wins out in the end? The military-industrial complex. And none of these other candidates, other than Bernie Sanders or Tulsi, and let's be quite honest, I mean, we'll see what happens in New Hampshire, and these couple early states, but I think Tulsi's going to need to get behind Bernie sooner rather than later. And I think Warren's going to have to too. I think my prediction is Warren's going to do that. If he does win Iowa and New Hampshire, I think Warren's going to try to secure her VP 46 spot by endorsing Bernie Sanders. I don't trust Warren. I don't know. I just don't. She was you're not a Republican until you're 47 and then change your thinking. The entire Democratic Party shifted to become Republican light under Bill Clinton and the following regimes of the Democrats. And everybody is in that category except for Tulsi and except for Bernie. And Bernie literally now has the chance to win this nomination and then beat Trump, because he will beat Trump. It's just going to happen. In Bloomberg came out this week, and my thought was that Bloomberg would get in the race, or if he did get in the race, it would be to get to the brokered convention, which is still a possibility, and then look like the guy who can pull it out. But then if Bernie does get the nomination, that he would run as a third party with all of the buildup and the name recognition already. Because he did sort of hint at that. I mean, he actually out and out said it, that he might do that if Bernie won the nomination in 2016. So that is my thought, that it was sort of his end game, and that they would split it because they'd rather have Trump than a progressive. These are, all the established. Here's the thing, Summer BC. One of the reasons for getting Bernie in there, even as president, even if you're totally worried about his socialism, which, another show, but he will completely change and rechange the Democratic Party. He'll destroy it. He'll destroy the establishment Democrats, and we'll bring in a new party. So that, for no other reason, to get him the nomination and put him in the White House. He will literally drain the swamp. Trump talked the good game because that's what he does. He was the outsider, but now he's been in there. Wars, swamp, tax bullshit, lies. He's been exposed. So he is the swamp, and Bernie's the only one that's got the consistency of fighting for the working people, and which is what we really need. And, establishment Dems have had it for 3 regimes. 3? Clinton, Obama, almost Hillary. You could throw Bush in there, because now Bush is embraced by all the neoliberal Dems. So Bush is in that category. So the only one that's going to stop the wars, deschedule cannabis on day 1, and expunge the records. All that's then throw in there Medicare for all, minimum wage, $15 an hour minimum wage, the growth of unions again. Hello, middle class, maybe a middle class rebirth. I think it's obvious. Who the Democrats need to get behind, but the establishment is dug in. So it's going to take more donations, more $2.70 donations every time you get a text or an email. And that's the beauty of it, is 99.9% of his donors can all give again, can just keep on giving. So we can double that 34 million. No problem. But Biden's got his super PAC going in Iowa and with a bunch of TV ads, but he's dropped down to 4th place. And I don't know, Bloomberg doesn't seem to be making much headway in California with his buy out here. So, I don't know how far that's going. Techno Biscuit, we're going to have to respectfully disagree. I can't bring myself to supporting a socialist regardless of the MMJ issue. Can you extrapolate on that? I'd even invite you on the show to talk about that. What does the word socialist mean to you, and his embrace of he's personally, and somebody said, I think it was Ron Placone, maybe today. Somebody said he's not actually a member of the Democratic Socialist Party. He's not a member of, he's an independent, and he has a philosophy of democratic socialism, which is not corporate socialism, which is what we have right now. We have a mixed system. Social Security is socialism. The military is socialism. Medicare is socialism. So we have that system, and you're not talking about third world socialism. You're talking about first world socialism, democratic socialism, where the government works for the people. That's the whole idea behind it. Don't get wrapped up in the name. But I respectfully agree to disagree if that's how you feel. FDR, exactly, cannabis sativa, more of a, old school Democrat, as AOC says, is, bringing the Democratic Party back to what they were before it was taken over by the neoliberal Democrats, aka Republican Light, which will get crushed by Trump. True. The greedy government tax system. The problem is with our system of taxes is where the money is going, who's not paying those taxes, and where those taxes are going to. That's really the issue between corporate socialism and democratic socialism, which is what Bernie Sanders is propagating or pushing, advocating for. So, we'll continue this conversation. I think cannabis is a bipartisan issue. And I think our best chance, unless Trump deschedules tomorrow, which who knows, he could do it. Bernie's going to do it as with executive order on day one, as we played in that clip. That's his plan. So, hey, Trump wants to take that away. I say go for it. Let's see. That's why it's not true. Democratic socialism is not real, true socialism. If you had the entire, means of production owned by the state, other than utilities and, water, which I don't think should be privatized, that should be publicly operated. I think we have a mixed society, guys. We have a mixed society, and Bernie Sanders is not talking about taking over industry and making you all government doctors. Paid for, you'll be paid for by the one insurance company known as Medicare. But how good would that be? I was just talking to my sister actually over the holidays about the fazool that this insurance system has created and the hoops that the doctors have to jump through, and the patients it's like if you make an appointment to get a checkup, you can't say anything about something that's bothering you. You have to make another appointment for that. Because you'll get charged because they won't be able to bill the insurance company. That's the latest thing with the private insurance. The Cadillac healthcare that Chela has. Well, you can't talk about anything that's wrong with you because we can't charge the insurance company. You have to make another appointment and then come back and talk about what it is. But don't tell me what it is. So, it's not all or nothing, guys. We have a mixed system. We have a mixed system that is overly weighted towards corporate socialism. And bailing out the banks. They just, Dodd-Frank, what a fazool that thing was. I think Dodd-Frank is the one, right? Where they passed under Obama. The banks just wrote themselves another check from the Treasury for hundreds of millions of dollars this last year. I think even more, hundreds of billions. They don't even have to go through Congress anymore. They're just like, well, we don't want that problem anymore. We don't have to go through that. So just let us do it. So they could just do it on their own. Doesn't have to go through Congress anymore. So they did that. They've been doing that for, a couple of years now. So they got that pesky going to Congress for getting a bailout out of the way. They just get their own bailout. So, we have socialism for corporations and the 585 billionaires that are paying zero taxes in this country, and multinational corporations like Amazon and Delta and all these guys who paid zero in taxes. So, we need to reverse that. And he's not taking over. He's not going to own your private industries and businesses. Not what's happening. What's happening is he's going to create a movement of people that are going to push lawmakers to vote for the policies that are going to benefit them as opposed to the corporations. And that's what's going to happen. And if those that aren't going to play ball are going to be out, they're going to get out. He's going to radically transform the Democratic Party, just like Trump has, torn the scab off of the Republican Party and what's going on. And look, it looks like Trump might have woken up the anti-war left and the anti-war independents. The anti-war movement might just be waking up again. Although federal building didn't look too big, but downtown was a pretty good turnout. But, we ain't Hong Kong and France yet. That's for sure. But let's see if it's been diffused right now. But there's always more to the war story. There's always more. Nothing is what they're telling you. Nothing on the surface is true. There's always something deeper going on. And never, governments lie, period.